And welcome back, students. As we continue our discussions of loops, we're going to take a little segue here before we can get into talking about for loops. And today we're going to discuss that of algorithms and pseudocode. So getting started, dealing with the rules and syntax of a programming language is not the hardest part of problem solving when developing code. The hardest part is actually coming up with the underlying method or solution. This method of solution is what's known as an algorithm. And an algorithm is simply just a precise set of instructions that leads to a solution. Now, when we tend to mix coding and natural language, we'll actually generate what's known as pseudocode. Pseudocoding is very common. All right, it happens all the time. Like I've used it. I know other people that use it all the time because it's great to help you brainstorm. And it allows you to mix code and human language in order to figure out the logic of what you want your code to do. In other words, you're not going to necessarily put like semicolons or curly brackets. You're just going to kind of write out what you generally want the program to do. The advantage of this is it allows us to work out the fine details there. We try to look at this for big picture stuff. So, for example, while Boolean expression statement, or while compared to ints, output some value. You notice that other than the word while in there and maybe some curly brackets, the rest of that is just in regular English. I don't really care what the Boolean expression is at this point. I don't really care what the statement is, whether it's just a system out.println. At this point in the code, I just want the big picture stuff. So here's another example. Let's say we want to solve how to read in a number from the keyboard and add it to a sum. We also want the program to exit after doing this 3 times. So let's problem solve. We know we need to capture keyboard input. That's going to be priority 1. We know we need to add that input to a stored value. We know we want the program to be able to do this 3 times before stopping. And because we have a multiple recurring thing that it's repeating, we can then infer that we will need to be using a loop. So let's craft that pseudocode. What we know versus what we can use. So we know that we can capture keyboard input. If we kind of follow that train of thought over, well, we're likely going to need a scanner object called keyboard that's going to capture code using keyboard.accent. We know we're going to be adding that input to a stored value. Well, we'll need to have a variable store input. We can call it sum or some other value. We know we want the program to be able to do this 3 times for stopping. Well, we're going to need another variable to keep count of the number of times. And we can infer that we're going to use loop. So we can use a while loop, which will work just fine for our example. So here's our pseudocode. Here I have count equals 0, sum equals 0. I'm going to input using the scanner class a variable called num, while count is less than 3, because I know in this case it's only going to go 3 times. Sum equals sum plus num, count plus plus, input again using the scanner class and store to num. And you can see out in the above example, I didn't list out every single line of code, but the basic idea is there. Now, of course, you could write this in English. That would be perfectly simple. You could say add num to sum. Perfectly fine. But sometimes you'll mix and match, and there's no convention on how to write pseudocode other than it's not the actual code. All right, that's the important thing. And you want to make sure you're getting across all the big picture stuff. And so like in the previous slide, we had 4 big points that we were looking at. You want to make sure those 4 big points are conveyed in your pseudocode. All right, and that's going to wrap our lesson, folks. So with that being said, I will see you next time.